Bullshit.
It's the No BS Marketing Show. I'm your host, Dave Mastovich. Our guest today is Robert Powell, CEO of Invictus and also a Vistage chair. We have a lot to talk about. Robert walked through his career background, starting off in a wonderful place as a teenager at Disney and turning that into a full-time position and moving up the ranks at Disney. Then with the Carlson Companies in Minneapolis, another large company owned and ran TGI Fridays, among other places. He was at AT&T. We all know about that as a VP of HR in Atlanta. He was also with Archer Daniels Midland, and Wesco brought him here to Pittsburgh, which was the best move for him and our region to get him here. And then he became a Vistage chair. Robert, I have a lot to talk about, but I do like to put this emphasis on something that's really cool that I found. I went through your career background, but let's talk about that very first job, because Suzanne and I have noticed that all these successful leaders had these great first jobs that still stick with them.
You know, I was, how old was I? I think I was just about 14 years old. It was a summer job. And I got to tell you, it was working as a community center. Great place, some place that I was familiar with because I used to hang out there. But it was a very illustrious job, I can tell you that. It was, I walked into day one and started running things, right? I wish that were the case, but it's not true. They handed me basically a mop, showed me where the mop bucket was so I could fill it up with water. So my job was to keep the floors clean and empty the trash and anything else they asked me to do. And I was happy to do it. It was first time I earned a paycheck, and I learned something called taxes during that experience. So I looked at my very first paycheck. I was so excited. I looked at it and I went, wait a minute, something's wrong. They're taking money away from me. So I take it home to my folks, and they said, oh, you've met Uncle. I said, Uncle who? I had no idea, 14. And they said, Uncle Sam. You know, he is your benefactor. He provides you everything in the world, but he's going to take money. And I said, great. So my first experience, but it was, I tell you what, I learned a lot from it about the importance of being on time, that even though it was a lower level type job, if you will, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I got to know the people there, and actually I took pride in it because I wanted the floors to be as clean as they could. I wanted to make sure the trash cans were always empty, and anything else they asked me to do, I did it with some great enthusiasm. And for me, that was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot about myself. And getting that first paycheck kind of lets you know, okay, so you work a little bit, get to hang around some cool people, and you get money. I'm in. And so it was great.
Those first jobs lay a foundation. Now, you went on to a number of jobs, and in the first episode, your career path was really a high trajectory. And we were talking back and forth about when you go into a new place, or maybe when you were promoted from within, and other people get what you referenced as titleitis. They change how they view you. And you were also talking about how Vistage is beneficial for people like me who don't have that support system that we used to have. But let's talk back and forth a little bit. When I went into new positions as a turnaround or to go through massive growth for a company, what I always tried to do was I wanted to go in and give everyone a chance to show me what their reality was. And my ability to read people, I think, helped me a lot because I could see pretty quickly my fight or flight, or this itchy kitchy feeling from those books when I used to read to my kids. One of them always said they got an itchy kitchy feeling. I would know who, just instinctually, who I might not be able to trust, but I would still trust them because I had a mentor who told me trust begets trust. And to truly be able to be trusted, you have to trust first. So I would still trust people even though I had that itchy kitchy feeling, and I knew they were probably going to go after me. So I would try to then find out where people were and where they were coming from. I would do the activity and accountability agreement service that I didn't call it back then, but now as a company, I realize we have to call it something so that people can buy it and go, wow, that was great, because it is great. But then I also tried to bring in outside people that I could trust. That's where I met Suzanne, and she came along with me on a number of places as her agency. And then of the ones that I could trust there, I would then definitely continue to trust them. And I also often brought in full-time employees that I had a connection to. How does that sound based on your background and your HR perspective?
Well, I think that's key. And a lesson that I learned was from a general manager at the gosh, he and I worked together back in my Disney days. And one of the things that he mentioned to me, he said, Robert, one of the first things you want to do as you move up the ladder is bring your crew. Bring your crew along with you, because these are people that you know how they work. You know they're going to have your back, and your job is to make things work. People hire you for a variety of different reasons, wherever they are at that point. But it's important to have that backup team, and that's going to have your back, and they're going to work and make sure you take care of those folks. And so I've tried to do that.
I'm your crew. See, Dave?
She's part of my crew.
You're part of the
Mike
crew.
Minnow.
I'm the posse right here.
Mike Minnow's part of the posse. Mike Gaddy, Mike Maz.
Well, the military has that saying out there, an army of one. So I guess you're a crew of one.
Oh, there's more.
Okay,
There's
all
lots
right.
of us. He's got a fan base.
He's got a fan base. Yeah, but I find that to be very, very important. And then also being able to build those relationships with trusted relationships with people whom you know.
Right.
But you just don't willy-nilly just always do it. You take your time, evaluate who's there, who's willing to make the change. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that whole book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yes.
Great book to read, whether it goes
It's a quick read, too.
Oh, it's a very quick read, but it really talks about not only organization change, but individual change and how important it is, because it's very true. Whether it's a new boss that's coming into the workplace, how are you going to manage that change? Some people stay right where they are, they don't adjust, and they ultimately can turn into fossils a little bit. And you have other people who jump right out the gate and they're right on board immediately. And then you have those who are right in the middle. So my suggestion to anyone that's going through any type of change, whether it be a new boss joining a company, is just read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, and determine where people are. And more importantly, determine where you are when you're going through change.
The No BS Marketing Podcast with Dave Mastovich is brought to you by Mass Solutions. Put our 3-step No BS process to work for you. Visit masssolutions.biz today to take your marketing to another level. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.
Now, normally I don't do this, but because I'm such a Vistage person and believe in it so strongly, and Vistage is about growth, normally I say to the guests that the Simon Sinek book, Ask Why, moved me. And I realized that from a marketing standpoint, that was half of it, because we have to understand our why, our reason for being. But I believe you have to answer the question why, which is our customer's why or reason for buying. Then crystallize those into one big idea, one memorable message or theme that makes an emotional impact on your target audiences. So I'm pushing you down a path here because Vistage has a big idea.
Yeah.
And it's tied to growth. Would that be your big idea at this point in your career?
Around my why, because if you're okay with it, let me just kind of address it from the why perspective. Why you do things, and I think that's another component for folks, is to get an idea of why do you do what you do. People just get jobs, to make money or whatever, but they don't really have an end game in mind.
Yes.
And so when I think about my why as to why I do that, throughout my career, I've had great experiences. I've had some not great experiences. I worked for great companies. I worked for some not so great companies and or departments and divisions. And as I was coming up through the ranks, I would often ask myself this question: is this a place that I would want my kids to work? Okay. And so when I think about it from that viewpoint, sometimes the answer would be a resounding yes. Other times, unfortunately, it would be not a chance. Okay. So as I jumped into the world of Vistage, that's a question what they ask you, what's your why? And I really started thinking about it, and it really crystallized for me what my why was. My why for doing what I do today, and I realized what I was doing throughout my career was my why, quite simply, is to make the world a better place for my kids. And it sounds kind of large. It sounds almost unattainable. But the reality is that I also learned that to make really an impact in an organization, you really have to have the ear of the CEO and have he or she's full support. And if you don't have that, the odds of it being successful go down a little bit. And so I realized that by becoming a Vistage chair, it helps me achieve that goal to make the world a better place for my kids. Because by working with other business owners, CEOs, I'm impacting them in a positive way in all facets of their life. And it also impacts their employees in a positive manner. They move forward. And I do it because not only because of my statement, make the world a better place for my kids, but I also get some personal gratification, quite honestly. When I work with a CEO and they tell me, that was really insightful, that really helped me get from point A to point B, that is more valuable to me, quite honestly, sometimes than getting money.
Yeah.
I like money, don't get me wrong. I'm a capitalist at heart. But at the same time, that just brings a certain level of satisfaction that I can't get from a paycheck. So when I think about it from that viewpoint, every time I'm working with the CEOs and my Vistage groups, and not only when I get that sort of positive feedback from them, but when I get feedback from their significant others and sometimes their kids about the difference that I've made in their life, it has a measurable feedback in a positive way. Now,
That's Robert Powell, the CEO of Invictus and a Vistage Chair. You're listening to the No BS Marketing Show. I'm your host, Dave Mastovich. The No BS Show is brought to you by Audible.com, which is a great tool that I use quite a bit. We're going to ask Robert for some tools and tips, but first I want to give him an opportunity to give the shout out. Your kids, let's talk about them.
Oh, yeah. Happy to talk about my kids. Oh, man, I'm really, really, really proud of them. My son, Jonathan, recent graduate of Slippery Rock University, a degree in psychology, plans to head off to grad school here shortly in a couple months. I'm really, really proud of him. A fine young man. I'm certainly highly biased, but I'm very, very proud of him. My daughter, recent graduate of Slippery Rock also this past May. So we're very proud of her too. She's working and she plans to be heading off to grad school next year. So I can't.
Tuition continues, Dad.
Yeah. So no, my kids know that I was on the foreign done plan. So they're going to be on their own. I
like that plan quite a bit.
Only way.
Yeah. Well, I committed to them that I would get them through college and they would come out without debt, for their first 4 years. After that, they needed to get everything else on their own. Never been a challenge with them getting from point A to point B. They've always been excellent students. Did some of the crazy typical teenager things, but you kind of learn as a parent that as you move along, it's like, okay, you're not bleeding, you're okay. And you're not dead, you're okay. So you're going to be all right no matter what. Yes. So long as you haven't done anything immoral or harming yourself, it doesn't matter. Everything's going to be all right. But I'm very, very proud of them. And, gets me a little weepy just thinking about them.
Well, that's a great why the big idea is big idea. Of course, you said make the world a better place for your kids.
Yes.
And I love that as a big idea. Let's talk about Vistage specifically a little bit, because while I've mentioned it a number of times on the show, we might have some new listeners, I'm sure we do today, that might not know exactly what Vistage is. I'm a member, and you're a chair. Talk about it.
Oh, sure. As you mentioned earlier at the very beginning, it's been around for 60 years, and it's one of these things that, ironically, not everyone knows about.
True. It's the truth. It's amazing how many people I talk to that don't know what it is.
We could talk about features and benefits, and, I would talk about features and benefits, but then I'll talk about real value, which will kind of go back on a couple of things I already talked about. The big features around Vistage is that, number one, you have this group of peers, of other CEOs, business owners, people who in a confidential, no agenda environment could talk about their challenges, whether they are business and or personal, and not have to worry about it getting out, because it is a strictly confidential organization. Invitation only. So you have to be someone, you go through a process to make sure that you're the right person, because not everybody's right for Vistage, and Vistage isn't right for everybody. But that's the one thing, is the group itself, which is very powerful. The second component is around the chair. And the chair meets with each member for up to 2 hours every month to go into a deep dive on to help them move from point A to point B in a confidential manner as well. The person that you can lay it all out to, that has no agenda but to be there for you. The other component is around, we have our own speakers bureau, some fabulous speakers. So rather than being in a room with 5,000 of your closest friends, and you're looking at this jumbotron with someone way down there, you're in a room with anywhere from 8 to up to 16 peers listening to some world-class speakers on a variety of different business topics, and quite frankly, even some personal topics to help you become a better individual. And then there's the community itself. We currently have over 21,000 members in 16 different countries. So we have people who are members in Europe, Africa, India, South America, China, of course, the United States and Canada. and Mexico. And so when you think about it from that perspective, we have a worldwide view. So to talk about a little bit of how that could be helpful is if you're a business owner and you have operations, say, in India, and you're thinking about making a move, contact another Vistage member over there and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing X. What are your thoughts? How would that be impact in this market? Give me some feedback. You really don't have those type of opportunities to do that. But those are features and benefits. But when I think about the real value that I'm told that members get from it, it's really relieving a little bit of that lonely at the top, knowing that you're really not the only one who is out there dealing with these types of issues, having a base of other individuals who are like you that really can relate. And they have no agenda other than to help you get through it. Having someone, a chair, who's with you, who truly has your best interests at heart and will push you. It's not all rah-rah. We push you.
Oh, it's not all rah-rah.
No. But because, when you think about it, there's a couple of mantras that I know some Vistage groups have, and that is, and then I'll talk about my personal mantra, but some of the mantras I've heard from other Vistage groups are things such as, no one goes down on our watch. Which means, you know what? You could be having a hard time in business or your personal life, and we're going to be there for you. Mm-hmm. And I could share with you stories about where that has actually been there, where people thought they were on the brink of just deciding to leave this earth. And I'll just leave that right there. And Vistage members have corralled around the individual and helped them out. And so my personal mantra is, you know what? My job is to cover your blind side. And I'm going to ask you the questions that no one else may not ask you within your own business. May be very comfortable sometimes, other times it may not. But I find the most productive things are when I push around all the edges to make sure that whatever thought process you're thinking is actually going to add the greatest value and cover your blind side so you can have greater success, whether it be personal or business.
I think Vistage is an awesome vehicle. I've experienced a number of the levels. The first part, I jokingly say the first Vistage meeting I was at, it was even during a break. And there were a couple people just talking about a problem that was similar to one that I had. Mm-hmm. And at that moment, the light bulb went off. I went, wow. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times you have a problem, you just think, I'll be honest, I beat myself up and I was thinking, I'm so stupid. Why is this happening? And, you just then realize that, wait a minute, no, it's everybody said. Then the second thing is the coaching and the one-to-ones with your chair is just outstanding because it is uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. There's times I dread it because I know if I haven't done what I said I was going to do, I have someone holding me accountable. Yes. And I thought I didn't need that as much, and the first 4 or 5 or 6 years of the company, we were growing, actually grew 8 straight years at double-digit growth. And so you really got the blinders on. Sure. You're thinking, I'm okay. So that's the second thing. The third thing is the speakers. They're phenomenal. And I was totally excited when they asked me to be a speaker and put me on the speaker list because I think it's a bona fide saying, hey, you're the real deal. And Suzanne's helped me with a group from Kansas City this Thursday. Great. So there you go. You're talking to people from all over and you're hearing their challenges. Boy, does that help my company when I hear what their marketing issues are, so I don't have just my 3-state area that we work out of. So I just found Vistage to really be about what it says, the personal and professional growth.
Absolutely. And I would tell you, even as a chair, I learn constantly. I'm coming in contact with, right now I have 27 CEOs that I work with, 27 different businesses, and all of them have similar and sometimes very unique challenges related to them. So I learn about that. And so for me, it helps me become a better individual because I always feel like it's my responsibility to be the best that I can be for them. Mm-hmm. And that's important. People ask me, I don't do this for the money. Okay, that's just a nice aside. I do it because truly it goes back to my why to try and make the world a better place. And if you live by something like that, my dad taught me too, and just thinking about this, do what you enjoy. The money always comes. Yeah. And so that's what I'm doing right now. And it's been great. It's been great.
That's Robert Powell. It's the No BS Show. And for you listeners of the No BS Marketing Show, Audible's offering a free download with a 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out the service. Try a book like The Everything Store, Jeff Bezos and the Age of Amazon, which I'm listening to right now. You can download it for free today. Go to audibletrial.com/nobs. Again, that's audibletrial.com/nobs for your free audiobook. So Audible is a tool, a resource for the audience talk about some that you might give our audience a tool that'll help them tell their story, craft their message, or communicate to internal and external target audiences. Anything you think might help our listeners, Robert?
I've got a couple things. One is really kind of a thought to give a concept to, and that is around, have a destination. Where you want to go. Too often when I sit down with individuals and ask them, okay, what's your end goal? Where is it that you want to be? They just, I don't know, I just kind of want to work and kind of get through here. And, that's certainly fine for those individuals, but I find the most successful individuals out there usually have an end game in mind. Relating that back to my own career, I always knew that I wanted to be the top HR guy in a Fortune 500 company. So every move I made was purposeful. What am I going to learn from this next move that I need to get me towards my goal? I would talk to people and say, for me to get to the next level, what do I need to learn? And fortunately, I had some great mentors, like I mentioned before, who shared that with me. And I was always very transparent about where I wanted to be. And I was willing to make some moves to try and make that happen. And so, first of all, just have a destination. It doesn't mean even about your career. It could just be in your house. If you know that you want to go from a 1,000 square foot apartment and you want to have like a 6,000 square foot home, that's fine. Just plan for it accordingly. Think about how you want to get there. What do you need to do? Do some research, but just have a destination, because if you don't have a destination in mind, any road you take will get you there, right? And so the second thing I'll share with folks is, life can be a little stressful sometimes. We all experience it. Came across a fabulous little app out there called calm.com. And what it is basically just a little app that you can take a listen to before you get ready to go to bedtime, just to kind of calm you down a little bit, kind of get the thoughts of the day out of your mind, to kind of get you focused on relaxing and getting a good night's sleep. Sleep is important, but also they have some quick 2 or 3 minute things that throughout the day, if you take 2 or 3 minutes, pop in your little app, listen to the guidance that you're getting, I guess, and it will absolutely make a difference, and you can feel the stress because you're focusing on something that's relaxing as opposed to the rest of the day. It's I found it to be helpful. I use it often. My wife and I will use it sometimes before we go to bed. She doesn't make it all the way through because she goes to sleep really fast. She doesn't have a problem. I have a problem. I need to go to sleep, have a little bit more sleep. Sleep is important.
And it's Calm, CALM.
Yep, calm.com. Yep.
All right, excellent. So, Robert, it's time to keep calm.
Okay.
And hit the bullseye.
Okay.
I'll ask you to choose between 2 marketing or messaging classics. Tell me which one you like more and why, but you only have a few seconds to choose and hit the bullseye.
Okay.
Geico's Gecko or the Aflac Duck?
You know what? I think I'm going to go with the Aflac Duck. The reason why I go with the Aflac Duck is because I just find it absolutely hilarious, quite frankly. They do a lot of different things that they aren't necessarily talking about their insurance that much from my viewpoint, but you just remember that duck, okay? And the duck doing all sorts of crazy little things. And I just find it just hilarious when I see that duck. So for me, I think it's a great marketing tool, and just the fact that the duck only says one thing, and that's Aflac. And it just puts it all into context. And it's great. I think it's a great marketing tool. And sometimes they'll have individuals out there talking about Aflac and how the duck saved them. Especially the one that comes to mind is about the yoga class, where it says, or with the one where the duck's out there playing golf, because I play a lot of golf, and just relating to the fact that, he's a horrible golfer. Yeah, but he really got me my money fast. So I like that one.
Now, we always try to tweak this a little bit to the guest, and you gave your background on the first part about Disney, Carlson Companies, AT&T, Archer Daniels Midland, Westco, and Vistage. Great companies, all of them. So for the bullseye, it's Verizon, Can You Hear Me Now? Or AT&T's Reach Out and Touch Someone. Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot. So, I carry an AT&T cell phone. My wife carries a Verizon cell phone.
Oh.
So I will tell you at this point, they're both great organizations. Yes, I'm being politically correct right now. However, I'm going to probably go with AT&T, and because they've always given me some great service. And sorry, honey, but got to go with AT&T on this one.
Now we're coming to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh healthcare titans from the insurance and hospital side, and they also own physicians. The new slogan, UPMC, life-changing medicine, or Allegheny Health Networks, health for all.
Oh, it's got to be UPMC, life-changing medicine. I think that is very, very impactful for individuals, very personal. Everyone can relate to it. I think that's a great little slogan. Life-changing medicine. It's like, yeah, okay, it just gives you the impression that, you know what? I want these guys to change my life for the better. So yeah, I'm going with these guys. Yeah.
How about MasterCard priceless or Visa everywhere you want to be?
You know, I like the Visa everywhere you want to be because it's more forward thinking about, okay, I want to go to Bora Bora, so let me make sure I bring my Visa card with me so I can get there, right?
With you being the HR guru, we're going to actually have you talk about both of these as part of the bullseye. You don't have to pick one, but they're both tied to human resources, and I want you to kind of tell people how they're both tied because there's all kinds of stuff they both can do. Glassdoor and LinkedIn.
Wow, Glassdoor. You know, I think it's a great tool. The thing that I like about Glassdoor, it gives a vehicle for individuals to kind of air their concerns, positive or negative. The thing I don't like about Glassdoor is that you're going to have individuals out there who, generally speaking, are unhappy about something. And so it may give you a slanted view on an organization. I think the concept is great, but I think there needs to be a little bit more, for lack of a better term, governance.
So as it is right now, a bigger company, it can be any company, but a bigger company would probably have a lot of information about the boss, right? You see a lot of stuff about the boss at a company. Is that fair to say?
I would see that. Sometimes you will see individuals talk about the work environment, the culture, if you will. And I think it's also kind of unfair to characterize that because you never know what that individual's experience has been and whether it was fair to their organization. There are some organizations that deserve it. Okay, I'm sure everyone can think about some of them that are out there, but I think that it's a good vehicle. I think so long as there's some balance, I think from a company perspective, they have an opportunity to go out there and to also kind of put their spin on the perspectives which are out there.
Well, the take I have, and I want you to give me your perspective, is like, let's say I go to company A and I'm interviewing a company A and company B, and I go to company A and I see a string of negative comments about the division that I'm applying for and the particular boss. I think that we are strong enough to know that even when you go to buy something on Amazon, if there's 2 or 3 negative reviews, I think we blow it off. If there's a series of negative ones, I think
that's
we
a pattern.
We get a little bit concerned and see a pattern. And then I guess the part of the comment would be this, though: what can and should the company itself be doing without Glassdoor?
Yeah, if you see a trend out there, a lot of companies really take the positive approach, or sometimes they will say, yeah, we see this. We know it's been an issue, or we're working on this, or they can say, we know that this was a problem with this particular division. That person is no longer there. So they have the opportunity to kind of place their own perspective on things. Because again, sometimes people are unjustly naming things, if you will. And let's just think about in the vein of politics. If you think about general politics all over, many of us, we could hear a lot of campaign ads, et cetera, et cetera. Some people have the capability to see straight through it, and others do not. So it's a matter of being able to say, do your own homework so you can understand at least where the real facts lie. So that would be my suggestion. And then companies certainly can go out there and put their own perspective on whatever consistent themes are being mentioned.
That's where I see the opportunity as a messaging guy. I see that the companies aren't trying to put their messaging tied back to Glassdoor. They're almost apprehensive about it. And I think that the better thing is to be able to tell your story everywhere you can. Okay, so let's move into LinkedIn.
Okay. I love LinkedIn. I think it is a great tool. I think it's focusing on the whole professional aspect. I have a hard time thinking about anything negative. If I had to think about anything negative, is when individuals put personal political views or anything like that. I think it's a professional vehicle. I think it should remain a professional vehicle. And by and large, it's used that way. And I've seen people who have tried to put some personal things out and other people correct them pretty quick. Like, don't do that. I think it's a great way to meet with other folks. But I also think that you have to be careful about your own network on LinkedIn. I practice the standpoint of trying to make sure that I only have people on my network whom I've actually met or that I know have some type of affiliation with. I don't accept every LinkedIn request because that's my network. It's my virtual network, but it's also my real network. And I don't mind connecting people. I really, really don't. But at the same time, I have a tough time connecting someone if I've never met the other person I want to get connected to, even if it's just a phone call. So frequently, if I get a connection request from someone and they've been basically someone else that I know, I'll send them a note back and say, hey, before I accept your request, how about we have a conversation so I know a little bit about you, as opposed to just reading about your network. Because the fact of the matter is, the downside too is a lot of people use it as a marketing, use it as a selling tool, which is fine. It's I would say a credible database for that purposes, and it gives people the opportunity to opt in or opt out, depending upon their preferences. So I think it's a great vehicle. I don't know offhand, or I can't recall who founded that and started it, but what a great idea. What a great idea.
It's grown a lot over the years, and at the beginning you had to actually only connect with people that you knew. You didn't have the in-mail, you couldn't have the premium. It's come a long way. Reid Hoffman is the guy. So, Robert, how can listeners contact you if they'd like to learn more about what you do?
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Two different ways. One is happy to go to my website, which is invictuslg.com. Learn a little bit more about what we do at Invictus, which really we are a strategic human resources firm. So we focus primarily on strategic HR plans, organization development, executive development, all those things you mentioned on the front end. Or you can send me an email at robert@invictuslg.com. You can also reach me at robert.powell@vistagechair.com. I'm not going to give out my phone number because people will text you and all sorts of stuff like that. But you can reach me through both of those vehicles. Happy to do it. Plus, I don't want my wife to see any sort of strange numbers popping up.
I hear that. And if they try to connect with you on LinkedIn and say they heard you on the No BS show, you might be able to give them a little disclaimer and connect. Okay, just a special offer, because he only connects with people he knows. So if you say you met him on the No BS show, he may or may not connect with you, but at least it's better than just a straight cold call.
That's exactly right.
So I'm thinking we've got our drummer now. We can get the band together.
Exactly.
We can do
percussionist.
We've got a percussion.
What's the biggest show you ever played for?
Oh gosh, biggest show I ever played for. Wow. Back in my Disney days, we used to have something called Summer Jazz Series, and so we had Duke Ellington used to come through, Wynton Marsalis, and during the day we would have what we called Master Series, and they would come, and during their rehearsals they would talk about their music, how it was kind of played, and so they would allow some of us to sit down and play with them during that session. So for me, it wasn't necessarily a big audience per se, but it was the opportunity to be involved and be around those great musicians with a great history and learn from that. So
Robert Powell, percussionist, Vistage Chair, CEO of Invictus. Thanks for joining us for the No BS Marketing Show.
Thank you, Dave. It's been a pleasure. Suzanne, it's been wonderful.
Thank you.
To our listeners, visit masssolutions.biz/bold solutions for show notes, plus additional marketing and messaging resources. Sign up for light reading. You'll receive valuable strategies every other week to improve your marketing and transform your message. It really is light, intended to be read in 2 minutes or less, and it just might trigger bright ideas for you. To sign up, visit masssolutions.biz. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold